What's up guys, welcome to another install video. Today I'm going to be installing Spider rear sets, finally. So this install involves a lot of moving parts. It can be a little bit intimidating for some. So my goal will be to make this video as short as possible. So I'm not gonna waste any time and I'm gonna go ahead and jump right with the install. For some, this may not be an install you want to do alone at home. The reason why is you need two items to be able to do this install by yourself. First, you'll need a wheel chock to hold the bike steady in the front, and you will need either a ladder or something to hang the rear of the bike from the wall. I cannot hang it from the wall because it's too thin, so I'm using a ladder. Basically, I'm using straps over here. I ratcheted the rear from here, as you can see, and the rear wheel is just lifted enough where I can rotate it. It barely touches the ground. That's all that I need, and I'm going to use this chocks here to stabilize the rear wheel there. Once you're able to lift that and stabilize the front, then you can start removing the rear sets. But before I go ahead and remove the rear sets, I need to show you how to put this together. So let me jump real quick on a video showing you how to do this and come back for the install. Alright, so once you open the box, it may seem a little bit overwhelming because there's so many parts. But once you start putting them together, you will realize that it's not. It actually is very, very simple. So this side is the brake side, and this side is the clutch side, or the gear shifter side. They're almost identical. They come with the same screws, 5 on each side, with the difference that the brake side comes with these 2 extra screws here that will retain the spring to create the tension for the brake lever. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna start installing the brake side first and show you step by step how to do that. Okay, the tools that you're going to need for this is 4mm hex, 5mm hex, a 5mm hex extended, ratchet, 1/4 inch that I'm going to be using for these two, and also 3/8 that I'm going to use for the extended. You will also need this cutters. The reason for this is because the lever comes these inserts here, and they're clipped in tie wraps, so you will need to cut these, hence the reason for the cutter. Also in the box you will have this. This is for if you're planning to eliminate your stand, you're gonna need this. I'm not going to eliminate my stand, so I'm not going to be needing this. I'm going to put it on the side. You'll also need blue Loctite. This is blue 242. I know it's red from the outside, but it's actually blue inside. I'm not going to use Loctite right now as I'm putting this kit together. For demonstration purposes and to save time for the video, I will do that later. So let's go ahead and put this together. Okay, some screws will come already pre-installed. For instance, these two here will come pre-installed, so you can install the heel guard, and then these 2 screws here will come pre-installed, and this will go for the rear master cylinder for the brake. First step is to put these 2 together, so let's go ahead and start with that. Okay, to put these 2 together, we're going to use these flathead screws. I believe these are 5mm hex. Yes, these are 5. And to put them together, we're going to put the assembly. This will come from the front. You can see, there you go. And we'll screw from the top. Okay, next step, I will install the heel guard. This is a 4mm to remove these 2 screws. Okay, next step will be to install the brake lever, and to do this we're going to need the long rounded head screw. And this will go back over here. This will also be a 5mm hex. Next we're going to install this here, and I'm going to use this 4mm chamfered head screw underneath here. Position doesn't matter at this point. I'm just going to go with the extended one, and I'll adjust that later. And this 4mm. And then next will be the foot peg. We're going to use also 5mm. It's the longest flathead screw that will go through here, and this is the reason we need the extended hex 5mm. That will go through here, all the way in, and I'm just going to randomly choose the position just in the center, and that will be something I will adjust later. When you're done and you have everything set, that's where you're gonna put this cap here, but I'm not gonna put it right now. This is gonna be for later. Okay, next step will be to insert these two screws that will retain the spring in place. So there's one hole here and one here. There's one more here, and this is for the actuator for the brake switch. We're going to use that later. I'm not sure, the kit didn't come with a screw. I believe we're going to use the existing screw that comes with the actuator from the bike. So let's go ahead and insert these two screws. One is longer than the other. The longer screw goes here because it's lower, sitting lower than this, and the shorter screw will go here. So if you look at the screws, one is short, one is long. Also, before you start screwing this inside, you have to insert these nuts because this is what's going to retain the spring in place. So long screw on the brake lever, short screw on the rear set, and these are both 4mm hex. Okay, once again, the reason for one being short and one tall is so they can match the height. And as you can see, this is taller, this is shorter screw, so they match the height, and the spring will go between here and here later. Okay, so clutch side is almost identical, with the difference that we actually have the shifter link here, and we're going to start again with the middle two pieces for the rear set. This will go top, Okay, now the difference is that now we have to install the shifter link. This comes already with this screw installed here, and this nut, you're gonna remove the nut, place it on the side, remove the screw, The screw will go first. It's also chamfered here. It's chamfered just so you can sit flat over here. I don't know if they changed the design, but I've seen rear sets that are not like this lever. So I don't know if they changed it or not, but this is how it is for mine. And it places here. You're gonna insert the nut from the back. Okay. And this is also a 4mm. I believe this is an 8mm. I will verify it right now. Okay, it's not an 8mm, it's actually a 10mm. You're going to use a wrench, 10mm wrench for this, and a 4mm underneath to screw that in place. I'm not going to screw it in place right now. I'm going to do that later once I have the rear sets on the bike. Okay, both rear sets are complete. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put blue Loctite on all screws except the foot peg and the foot levers on both sides, because I will need to adjust this later. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that and jump at the bike so we can install these. All right, so for the first step will be to remove the shifter, but I want to try something before I do that. Normally we have to use a 5mm to remove this, but before I do that I want to see if I can just remove the shift link. I'm going to use an 8mm here and a 10 to break it loose. There you go. And then a 10mm for here, and the 8 here to hold it steady. Okay, I think I might be able to avoid removing this. I already marked it just in case I have to, so I can put it back in the same position with a marker. So for now I'm gonna leave this here as is. Hopefully I won't have to remove it. So next step will be to remove this and this nut over here. I believe this is a 24mm and a 13. For this we're going to use a 12 point, because if you use a 6 point, it's too thick and it won't fit in between here. So we're going to use a 12 point 24mm for this. So 24mm to break loose this. Okay, it's loose. If you don't have a impact wrench, you're gonna have to use a breaker bar. I'm just saving time by this. There we go, and then let's go remove the 13mm over here. I'm gonna use 13mm long with an extension. Let's see if this will be able to break it loose. Yes, it did. Seems that it wants to come off as a whole piece. There you go. Okay. Okay, that was one bolt with one washer, and the nut also has a washer in here. Don't forget to reinsert these. There you go. 1.4mm nut and a washer and a bolt. Now here, if you see, is where the stand, this screw over here keeps the stand in place, and this, if you eliminate the stand, that's where you're going to use the spacer that I showed you before at the installation of the rear sets. I'm keeping the rear stand, so no need to use a spacer. You can see over there One spacer, it's still there. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove this. Okay, so we have one more washer here that we're gonna remove, and the next step, probably the most important to make this job very easy, is I'm going to measure this. It comes down to 15.94 millimeters, 15.94 millimeters, and I actually purchased this from a hardware shop. It's a rod that should be this same thickness. Let's see, 15.88, almost identical. And of course, there's definitely some error when, there you go, 15.9. So it's the exact same. This is basically 5/8. So I'm gonna use this to thread the axle, the pivot axle, all the way through while putting this in. Also, another thing that I did is I actually chamfered the edges here by using an angle grinder, just so I don't, while I insert this in, I don't hit the swing arm. So I chamfer this here. So I'm gonna start pushing this with this. Okay, I'm gonna use a rubber mallet to initiate this in. Okay, seems to be going in smoothly. So now I'm going to insert this. Hopefully it will fit in smooth. That's a sound of good news. That means that passed all the way through the swing arm and it dropped the pivot axle from the other side. Okay, let's go see it. There you go. And this passed here. Perfect. Now the swing arm is in place. It's not moving at all. So we can go ahead and remove this rear set and start installing the new one. Okay, next step, before we remove this 13mm bolt here, I'm going to remove the rear master cylinder by removing these two screws that are 8mm. Also, I'm going to be removing this. So this part actually has a rubber that keeps this in place here, but my rubber O-ring broke months ago and I never replaced it, so this is a good time to replace it. What this rubber O-ring does is keeps this pin in place so it doesn't leave. So I'm gonna replace this with a new one, throw this away. So let's start with that. There you go. Normally you wouldn't be able to lift this because the rubber would be all the way around it. There's no rubber there right now, so there you go. And this will come off of the back there. There. Keep this for later. Okay, this is removed here, and then we're gonna remove this 8mm. Okay, the master cylinder is loose. Now one more thing, when we remove the rear set, this wire here goes back to the actuator for the light switch. You have to be careful when you remove that. So let's go ahead and remove this 13mm over here. Okay, there's a spacer in the back, comes with it. Make sure you remove the spacer. There you go. You're gonna reuse this spacer. I'm gonna remove the bolt, and it also has a washer. Put this down here, and okay, I think to remove, I might have to put this back. Let me see. No, let me put it back a little bit. There you go. So on the back here, you'll see the actuator that we're gonna have to remove. And we're also gonna remove this spring and reuse these two. Okay, this is gonna be a 4mm. For the actuator. .4mm hex. Okay, it looks like we're going to reuse this screw, as I thought. And then these break so easily, so be careful with it. Okay, rear set is off, actuator is here. We're gonna remove this to reuse it. Okay, now remove the actuator. We're gonna remove the spring. There we go. From the other side. Done. All right. Okay, now we're gonna transfer the spring to the Spider rear set. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna grab this. There we go. And to secure it, we're gonna use 10mm. Tighten these nuts there. Okay, let's test it. Perfect. And now we're gonna install the actuator here. Okay, now for the actuator, I actually wanna put this a little more inside. Okay, for the actuator, going to place this here. Go. Reuse the screw. There you go. That's good to go. That's the actuator. Perfect. So now I'm going to rest this here for now. Also, don't forget there is a. Looks like going to remove it now. There you go. There's this. Okay, I'm gonna get the new rubber. I'm gonna have to thread it through here. All the way in there. So you have to put this in between. This is why I left this loose, because there you go. Clip this back there and pass the rubber all the way around. Yeah, I may have to use the pick for that. I hate using picks when it comes to rubber, but I have no choice. There you go, all the way around, done. So this is where this rubber should be. Make sure you inspect this on yours, make sure your rubber is actually still there and you haven't lost it. All right, next step, insert the, yeah, we're gonna need to replace this back. Right, next step, we'll utilize the spacer behind there while we thread the bolt. Make sure the spacer is the same on both sides, yes. Okay, so while I was pushing this inside, I actually realized something, that the minute the pivot axle and all the axle that's on the side pass through the swing arm and engine, it loses a gap. So what you need to do for this is you need to come from this side, you need to hold the tail here, you need to hold the wheel here, over here on the right, and push it like this. So you push the tail towards the right side and the wheel towards the left side, like this. So you create this, and if you see there the swing arm, it creates this pivot there to the left, and that will make it go through. Once it passes through, you can continue pushing through. Okay, so you definitely need two people to do this, because someone needs to be aligning the swing arm while you thread the axle. So now we've been past all the sections. Now we can go ahead and push it all in. It's just that we have to align this with the, and so now I can insert it all the way. It made sense because I wasn't able to align this flat spot there. There you go, see in there, and that's how it aligns. So we're good here. We're not gonna torque anything here yet. I'm gonna go from the other side to insert all the rear sets. Right, this side now. I'm gonna start. Now this is where this washer goes. Insert this. Insert this bolt here. And don't forget this washer. Insert it there. And then 24mm nut. Okay, we're gonna start with torquing this 24mm. nut at 110 Newton meters. There you go, 110. Now I'm gonna torque this. Okay, I'm gonna torque this at 35 Newton meters. There you go, that was 35. Perfect. Okay, this one also 35. There we go. All right, guys, install is complete. A lot easier than I thought it would be. Probably about an hour total if you have everything set, you have all the tools, you have ladder, and everything is as it should be. You will need some help. You will need a second pair of hands to assist you aligning the swing arm, to thread the axle. You won't be able to do alone. Other than that, I think it was pretty easy. I think it looks a lot better than before. What do you guys think? One thing is for sure, I need to wash this bike because it's full of grease and full of dirt. So I'm gonna take this bike out and do probably a video with a walk around of all the mods I've done so far, because I'm pretty close to completing this bike with everything that I want to do at it. So yep. Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you if you're planning to install the rear sets on your own. If you like this video, hit that like button. Also consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.